So let me briefly talk about childcare in America and for people who are looking for daycare, for example. So in America, depending on where you are, when it comes to looking for a person to look after your children or child, you need to decide whether you want to do a daycare where it's people coming in and out, other parents there, other kids there, or you want to do you want to hire a nanny at home, or you want to do at home daycares. There are people who have daycares in their homes, and they are allowed to take care of like 10 kids or something. There's a limit. So if you're a parent and you're looking for assistance with childcare, you do of course need to call, or if you're looking for childcare outside, not a nanny, you're looking for childcare at home daycares or a daycare that's more of like a school, a preschool, you do need to call to see if they have available vacancies, because a lot of places have a wait list. And if you have multiple kids, of course you need to call and find out and talk to somebody's going to answer or leave a message. They'll call you back. Normally they call back. That's number one thing. The other thing, of course, you have to look at the prices. There are different price ranges, but they're all kind of in the same ballpark. But it's not cheap. It's not cheap to daycares are not cheap, and there are different types of daycares. Even the church, some of the churches, they do have daycares and preschools. Normally, if church has a preschool or a school, they're probably gonna have a daycare. And by daycare, I mean some of these places take kids from 6 weeks all the way up to 5 years. So they do have. So you can hire services for that period of time. And so one thing, you need to be free to change daycares or childcare services if it's not working out for you, or you change your schedule. For example, you're working day shift and you move to night shift. You need to be to feel free to change daycare. If you take your child to a daycare and you don't like it, you should change. You're not married. These are businesses and they're fine. They'll be fine. They'll get somebody else. So if you're unhappy with one daycare, change, move. You're not a tree. Move. You can move your kid to another daycare. You do need to submit vaccination records because they're going to be around other kids. That's another thing. Some daycares, of course, require you to take, for example, Pampers, diapers, depending on the age of the kid you're taking there or the baby. And but if you have concerns, change, look for another daycare. So I do know rural America you have very few options when it comes to rural America because of the number of daycares that are available for people in rural America is very small. So changing may become tricky because a lot of them take older children, like they don't take toddlers or babies. But in the cities, they do take toddlers and babies. That's why a lot of people stay in the city, because you have 24-hour service, daycares, so you can get a job during the day, you can get a job during the night, in the evening. The daycares, you will be able to get child care services when you do that. So when you're looking for daycare, of course, you call them and you ask, of course, their price, and you do schedule an appointment if you want to make a visit. It's very rare. You can drop by, but mostly just call them. They will let you go visit. And you can go visit. And basically, you need to understand there is a mismatch with the school schedule and the work schedule in America. There is a mismatch. I'm going to give an example. If your kid gets sick, you're going to have to go pick up your kid. If it rains, for example, if too much rain, snow, winter, any of these weather issues, the daycare is probably going to be closed. So you're going to have to keep your kid. So you do need to understand there is a mismatch, and it needs to get fixed. This is a mismatch that needs to get fixed. It's a lot of these daycares are there to try to fix this collective failure. But if there is snow, or there is too much snow, too much rain, hurricanes, all this stuff, the daycares, they don't show up, because also they are also parents, and also sometimes they can't travel. to, to the daycare. Their employees can travel and stuff like that. So that's another thing. Just be aware there is a mismatch. So you do need to give yourself grace, because you're gonna miss work. The probability you're gonna miss work because you don't have anybody to take care of your kids is like 100%. You At some point you're gonna miss work for one reason or another. And the more kids you have, the more likely you're gonna miss work. So yeah. Then another thing when it comes to daycares. So most daycares operate during 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But they do have daycares that cater to the second shift and the night shift. Basically, they operate sometimes 6 to 11, 2 to 11, 2 to 10, 2 to the next day in the morning. Some operate 24 hours, but as I say, these are in the city. And you cannot have your kid in daycare for more than 10 hours. And that's a lot. You need to have your kid like 8 hours, not 10 hours. But maximum 10 hours, you got to pick up your kid. So there is also that. Your kid, if your kid is sick, they can't go to daycare. They're gonna get everybody sick. Not the running nose. I mean, like fever, like they're really sick. Some daycares do take care of kids with disability. So this is something you have to call and ask them, and they'll tell you. But there are daycares that will take a certain types of disabilities. There are daycares that will cater to that. So not all daycares are, will reject outright. So these are businesses. They're in business, and they will. The same way, even when it comes to nannies, when you have kids with disabilities, some nannies will take care of kids with a disability, and some they don't know how to, or they can't, or it's not their preference. So the same thing with daycares. Just you have to call and ask and see what they say. That is gonna, of course, cost more. Because they're gonna need to put one person with spend a lot more time with your kid than with the rest of the kids. So there is also that. So there are very many things to look at, but generally just call them. They're in the business of taking care of children, and go with your gut. If you don't like the daycare, don't take your kid there. Take your kid to where you're comfortable, where you have peace of mind. If you're not comfortable with daycares, you can do stay at home. You can do at home daycares. A lot of people prefer at home daycares. I personally don't prefer at home daycares. I prefer the more school type setting of daycare. And normally it's gonna be a mixed crowd. It's gonna be a mixed crowd most of the time. So yeah, so that's it for the daycare. And good luck to all the moms and all the parents and all the dads out there as you look for childcare in America, because it's not easy. But it's doable. Thank you.